Hey everybody, back again with the 3D Facebook photo tutorial. I had a lot of questions about people not being able to get theirs to load right, and I've looked into it and I've seen that there's usually one of two problems going on. Either the aspect ratio is really funky, like it's really too tall or wide, and they need to trim it down, crop it down to about a 5:7 or 5:8 to fit properly, or there are holes in the depth map. If there's any open spaces that is not accounted for, it will really mess it up. So you got to make sure there are no holes in the depth map. I'm going to go through and show you how I did this image. This one is a much more subtle, realistic 3D photo. You can see that it almost looks real. So I'm going to show you how I did that in Photoshop. Okay, first we start off with the flat image. There's nothing naturally 3D about this, and I'm going to go through and kind of speed up the process so you won't hear me talking through the editing. So as far as getting the picture cropped, now is the best time since you've only got one layer to work with. This is already at a good crop angle, ratio, whatever you want to call it. So I don't have to crop this one. To overcome the second objection, having holes, this is a surefire way that you don't have holes in the process. In the process of making these 3D photos, you're going from white to black, or actually what I normally do is from gray to gray. But if you want to make sure there are absolutely no holes, make one solid fill layer of black. So that way it will not have any holes. Now of course you can't see what you're doing now, but that's alright. You can just hide that layer until the very end, and then just pop it in after you've made your gray gradient layer on this one. Okay, so you can see now I have the gradient layer in. It's very simple in theory. You just have to make sure the things that are closest to you have the lightest colors and furthest away have the darkest colors. Now to make it more realistic, you can see that, you know, her cheek is a little bit closer than her nose and such, so you paint that on in different shades so you can get that more subtle, realistic look. It also helps that the original is in black and white, and that the background is fairly plain, so when you do move it around on the screen, it's not going to have that weird blur behind it, or at least not as prominently. I found that black and white photos do make the most realistic and best 3D photos. While I was working on this, I kept the opacity down at about 50% so I could still see what I was doing, and I literally painted on with the brush mostly to get those colors exactly where I needed them to be. So it's a lot of really tedious work, but in the end it makes such a pretty picture. And like I said, you see these little black lines in here, that's areas I kind of missed because I had some areas selected to help me stay, you know, coloring in the lines. So all you got to do is pop that under there like that, and all of those areas are automatically filled. You don't have to worry about there being any holes. So you just need to export this into a layer, a new JPEG, and name it, which I have already done. Right here is the exact same name as the original photo, only it has underscore depth. You save it as underscore depth, and that will let Facebook recognize that you're trying to make a 3D picture. So when you go into Facebook, which I've already done to upload it, you upload both photos at the same time, and this is what the preview will look like, and you can kind of move it around. So This can only be done from a desktop. I don't believe you're able to upload files from an Android phone. If you have an iPhone, you can do something similar if you use the portrait mode, but it's not going to be as detailed as something that you can make in Photoshop. I hope these work for you. I hope most of everyone's questions were answered. If you still have a question after this, feel free to ask and I'll try to get back to you. But this is definitely a more subtle, realistic version of the 3D photos, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much.